Your body knows how to be healthy. I'm your host, Martha Blessing, and this is the Place to Be Free podcast, a show that is passionately devoted to illuminating the potential within you to transform your health and life. We're shaking up and breaking up old paradigms so you can free up your mind and body, elevate your consciousness, and create profound well-being and a ridiculously happy and healthy life. On this show, we defy the norms and embrace a journey toward profound well-being and creating true freedom. We challenge patriarchal medicine, question fear-based culture, and dive deep into topics like quantum healing, energy medicine, mental science, consciousness, and universal spiritual laws. Whether you're here for solo explorations or the insightful interviews with individuals who've conquered fear and disease and broken through limitations, you're in for a transformative experience. If you're seeking empowerment, if you're ready for a life-changing shift, you're in the right place. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Martha Blessing. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm talking today about reversing thyroid disease, whether it's hyperthyroid, whether it's hypothyroid, Hashimoto's, whatever you may have been diagnosed with as an abnormal functioning of the thyroid gland. I'm talking about how do we reverse that, and a multifocal approach today, right? Not just energy medicine, not just the physical aspects. I'm going to share some things with you from my journey of reversing hypothyroid, and also what you need to look for, what you need to do, what you need to focus on if this is something that has bothered you or troubled you. I want you to know you do not have to live with this disorder, with this literally disorder of the cells in the body, dis-ease in this throat area. And I personally believe 100% it's reversible. First thing I want to talk about is, who does thyroid symptoms, dis-ease affect? Well, it's very, very interesting to me. It's fascinating to me that I never hear a male tell me that they have thyroid issues. It's always women. Always women. Why is that? That's the first thing that we need to really stop and think about. Stop and think about. And it's also one of the things that, like, so often, right, in Western medicine, and they're screening for all of these illnesses. They don't screen for thyroid, but they don't do prevention, but they also you don't hear it about being genetic. Like, you don't ever hear, I don't believe in genetics, quite honestly. I don't believe that I believe in energetics. I believe that we are ancestrally predisposed to continue to take on the beliefs and the patterns that our parents and our grandparents had, that creates the illness and the imbalance. But in truth and in reality, in the quantum field, in spirit and source, there is no illness. And so they don't exist. Now, I know you're going, okay, Martha, you're getting too far out there in wiki-woo, like, don't tell me because I have it in my body. But that is the material world. That is not the spiritual world, not the energetic world, so to speak, in the quantum of what we're made of, where we're made from, in that consciousness. So let me go back. I digress. We do not have any kind of indication in medicine that thyroid illness is, quote, genetic. You never hear that. You never hear them say, oh, well, like when you fill out a form, right, in the doctor's office, first time you go, or an update, what are your symptoms? They'll screen you for, like, blood sugar, cancer, heart disease, those sorts of things. They don't ask about thyroid and it being, quote, genetic. So that's the first piece. That's in our favor, right? Like it's in our favor to understand that we can reverse something if we don't have the belief that we're stuck with it. That's where so much of medicine creates the issue and the problem. Western medicine is like, you're stuck with this. You're never stuck with it. So first is the belief that you have the ability. So why is it women? I can tell you and share with you my personal viewpoint. Do I have proof? Do I have science? Well, no, but I have 30 years of experience working with clients and thousands of treatments and clients that I've worked with. And so medicine considers it an autoimmune. It's attacking itself. What happens with women? Why, ask yourself, if you are a person with thyroid disease, have you stifled some aspect of your truth, of your being, of who you are at your core? If the answer to that is yes, then it stands to reason and follow that the energy is going to be congested or maybe trapped in this area, right? Not fully expressing. It's not just about voice, having a voice, but when we look at it being autoimmune, it's attacking itself, right? We're attacking ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. If we are not in our fullest expansion, if we are not in our ability that is God-given and spiritual to be who it is we came here to be, right? We're constricting our true self. We're going against ourselves. That is autoimmune, right? We are attacking ourselves subliminally, subconsciously, rather than stepping into the truth and the expansion of, wow, God created me. The truth about me is that I am divine. I'm holding myself separate from that truth. And so this energy is congested and it's actually showing up. It's giving you a path and a way and a reason to actually take a closer look at what's going on in this area. Now, also important and imperative to understand is in this throat and neck and shoulder area, there's an energetic and spiritual bridge, right? So when we talk about the chakras, we have the chakras like they end. There's two nerve endings right in the center of our face. The Ida and Pingala, these nadis, they're energetic in the Ayurvedic system and also in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, right? And so there's a bridge right here where these energies loop and they end right here, but there's a bridge in the chakras in bringing down our spiritual energy, right? So it comes in through the crown, gets filtered through our sight, our spiritual sight, our esoteric sight, and then it comes down through expression. Then we come into the physical body, right? The physical body. And a lot of times when we have had any kind of trauma or abuse, and it doesn't have to be a big sexual abuse or PTSD, just in general. For a lot of people, they've maybe grown up in an alcoholic environment. A lot of clients that I work with, they'll say, my life wasn't that bad. My parents were really good. We had a great normal childhood, blah, blah. Like a lot of people will say that. And yet when I dig deeper with them in our sessions, in our group sessions, in our healing sessions, we'll uncover more of the truth of, oh, yeah, you know what? When I was a kid, when I was 3 or 4 or 5 years old, my mom and dad, drank a lot, and they'll trigger maybe a memory of a time where they didn't feel cared for, or, something undesirable happened, right? And it was never like a person who was beat up or hit or abused or attacked, but it was just maybe emotional neglect because of the energy of alcohol, right? And alcohol abuse. And so this is very frequent that I find this. Anyway, when we have this, some kind of event that has happened, It's unpleasant, right? And one of our ways of dealing and coping with this as a child is to just kind of stuff it down. They say, oh, kids are resilient. Well, what happens is we need the security, the protection, and the love from the people that are in charge of taking care of us. And so we will do just about anything when we're young and agree to just about anything in order to get those needs met for our safety, security, survival, self-esteem, and love, someone to protect us, keep us warm, fed, safe, and dry. Well, if that becomes an issue and our needs aren't met, then we're going to stuff down whatever those circumstances are, kind of sweep them under the carpet, sweep them under the rug, pretend like they're not really there, pretend like they're not happening, so that we can morph ourselves into a person that gets what it is that they need. We need to be able to feel safe and secure. And so we have now learned to manipulate and morph our true self. We're often hiding a lie or a secret in order to get our needs met, in order to get our love and safety and security. Okay. So as this bridge at the neck can become constricted because, say, the energy gets in down through the first energy centers, and then it's right here and it gets blocked. It cannot get down because the heart is not open. This heart center does not trust. It doesn't feel love. It doesn't feel safe. It's not open. It's constricted, right? Based on all of the things I just mentioned, right? So what happens if this is closed off? The energy can't get through. This is usually subconscious, unconscious. It's part of the work we do in the Healed and Unlimited program. We go even deeper in it in the Live Without Limitations program. But this is, so it's not as simple. People will get, oh, I'm just going to go get Reiki or healing touch or energy healing, things like that. What's usually stored in this heart center is grief. We're not wanting to feel that grief that we experience. And so we shut things down. So there's a loop that gets generated, right? And so the energy comes in, it comes down, it comes through the crown, the top of the head, the eyes, gets to the throat, comes down through the throat, hits this wall in our heart center, which is where our subconscious is housed in our body, our soul, our higher self is in the heart center. And so there's fear, there's guilt, there's shame, there's grief. It's all stuck in there and it just keeps looping. It just keeps looping. This is also a side note. This is also where like migraine headaches come from, because this loop in the back, this occipital area, a lot of times the energy gets trapped in there. It's very, very common. And so I'm going over this now, all of the energetic pieces that can be at play with the thyroid. That's the first piece of it. When I say that it's, I believe, 100% reversible, these are the things that you need to look at. These are the things that you need to focus on. So I did reverse hypothyroidism. I made the decision. If you've listened to the podcast at all, you'll hear me say this. The decision comes first. You cannot just kind of want to sort of think you're going to do it, because you won't stick with it. You won't own it and you won't stick with it. And you have to make a firm decision. So I made that firm decision. Now, it wasn't just as simple as reprogramming the subconscious. It wasn't just as simple as moving the energy. I also incorporate the 3D, physical reality of what foods am I eating? How am I managing cortisol? How am I managing my hormones? If you are a person who wants to eat junk, I am going to tell you you're not probably going to reverse your thyroid, quite honestly. There are too many aspects of the thyroid and the immune system I believe that you'll have to address the energetic first, but you also have to address the hormonal issues and the foods that you're eating. If you are eating things, so I'll tell you my personal experience. When I learned about oxalates, and I'll leave a link to Sally K. Norton's book, Toxic Superfoods. When I learned about oxalates, that became my driving force, and making choices that were going to physically support the thyroid. Okay. And so one of the things that I was doing and I noticed was I had a lot of foods that were very, very high in oxalates. And those foods, number one, can create, like we get, you'll hear people talk about kidney stones and having oxalate crystals that create kidney stones. Well, they're not just in the kidney stones, they're all over in the body. And so I really had an intuitive hit when I was sitting in my stillness and doing my healing practice that I had oxalates that were affecting my thyroid. And the other thing to consider is if you're drinking tea, certain beverages, possibly caffeine, coffee, but tea is very, very high in fluoride. Any kind of fluoride that's in your life, in your diet, in your healthcare routine, like toothpaste, anywhere that you see, like city water, municipal water, if you're not purifying your water and there's fluoride in your water. Fluoride competes with the thyroid. It takes the iodine, it competes with the iodine in the thyroid. You can, do a search on this. You can read about this. You can read about it in Sally's books. You can check on PubMed. But so tea is high in fluoride, and I used to drink a lot of tea. I used to drink probably 4 or 5 cups of tea a day, black tea, green tea, white tea. Hardest thing I ever had to quit and give up was tea. I really liked my tea. That came out of my diet. And I also went carnivore to get the toxins out of my body. I still eat an animal-based diet. I will never go back to eating the way that I did. And, for the vegans and vegetarians out there, you do what you feel serves you best. I deliver the information because I know what has worked for myself and I know what has worked for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of other people. Now, having said that, I do believe that each person, it's why I love doing the work I do in working with people to help them fine tune this and be intuitive with their own body and their own healing as to what they need specifically. In Ayurvedic medicine, which I was clinically trained and had a wellness center based in Ayurveda for many, many years, it can be according to your body type, and Vata types need certain kinds of energetically programmed foods, and Kaphas and Pittas need a different kind. So it's really an individualized thing, and it's part of why I don't like, yes, you can do testing, but it's part of why I don't like the functional medicine doctors, because they're still just putting everyone into a blueprint, and each body is so individualized that when they see different like blood works and testing, and they just interpret it, but they're not interpreting it energetically, right? They're not going to go in and see. They're going to say, oh, calcium or iodine or potassium, or, here's the markers in your autoimmune. They're not asking if you're drinking tea. They're not understanding if tea is competing with iodine in the body. And it may not show up that you're iodine deficient. There's so many factors go into this that I really think it's important that you be fully empowered to dive into all of these dynamics and mechanics for yourself and test, play with what it is that you're doing. There are foods that support the thyroid. There's one woman who is in the she's a naturopath, and she's in the Elizabeth Bright. And, her recommendations, I think she means well. I know she means well. Um, when I first encountered her in the carnivore world, she was telling everybody to eat a stick of butter a day, which fat is wonderful for healing the hormones. I don't disagree, but not everybody, like, you cannot give that kind of information to the general public, because they'll all just start eating a stick of butter, but they won't know why, and they won't be able to test and understand how and why it's affecting them. The other thing she said is everybody needs to supplement with iodine drops. Well, we're playing with the thyroid here, right? Like, this gland is kind of a master gland in the body. And so, people don't, I say this in jest and with love, but people don't always have a lot of common sense. Oh, I need more iodine, and they're going to start self-medicating on iodine without testing thyroid, without doing T3, T4, all these kinds of things, right? They're all important. So when I reversed and I made the decision to go off of, I was taking, at one point I never took Synthroid, I took Thyroid, which is a formulary drug. And I was at one point taking about 180 milligrams, and I made the decision. I was fortunate. I had a doctor that I worked with for many, many years, 30 years was my primary doctor. And I told him, I said, I don't think I need this thyroid medicine, and I want to wean myself off of it. And he didn't bat an eyelash, but he was used to me. I had trained him, right? And so we drew my blood work, and we slowly weaned me off. I did all the things on my end. I ate the good fats. I made sure I got plenty of sleep. I am consistently doing non-stressful exercises, right? Weight training, walking, bicycling, swimming. I don't do the heavy duty HIIT workouts anymore, or I don't do as much running as I used to do, because it's stressful on the body. It's stressful on the body, which is going to hold on and create the imbalances, right? It's going to hold on to that stress energy, that fight or flight. It's going to elevate the cortisol. Right? So I went into this with a decision. My mind was made up. I commanded to my body, yes, I'm healing this thyroid. It's already done. It's already healed. I'm applying all of those principles, but I'm not going to just sit back and go, oh, it's a magical miracle. No, there are things that I need to do. There are steps that I need to take. I need to look at, where am I not expressing myself? I need to make sure that my heart center is open, and that I'm moving energy, and I'm addressing any kinds of grief or shame or fear or doubt, any of the mental, emotional aspects that might be trapped in the body, that we don't have a voice, that we're afraid to speak our truth. We're afraid to show up in the world. This can all be interlinked, intermingled. And then I'm looking at my nutrition. So I knew that I was getting really, really good nutrition. I was doing primarily a lot of grass-fed meats. I do all local raw cheeses, dairy, milk. I'm not heavy on those, but they are in my diet. My supplementation, I did not do Lugol's iodine. I could not take the iodine. It made me sick, made me nauseous, and made me sick, made my digestion really unpleasant. And so I knew after a couple of days, I was like, what's different? Oh, I added these drops in. No, I don't feel well. Okay, take them out. You got to learn to trust yourself. And it's not just because some expert, some person told you, oh, everybody needs Lugol's. That's a very irresponsible statement, I feel like. Know your numbers, know your labs, know your tests, work with your physician. So I slowly weaned off, changed my diet. I also supplemented with desiccated thyroid. I also took beef thyroid. And what else did I do? I made sure my electrolytes were up and that I was well nourished. I was getting the sleep. So it was all of these pieces put together. It wasn't just one thing. Now, I went back. I got tested again after, we weaned myself off of the Thyroid. I went from 180, I think, down to 120. Then I went down to 60. It was like each month. And then the doctor had me then completely wean off of it. And I will admit, I was a little nervous, right? Like I didn't want to gain weight and I didn't want to feel poorly. And I didn't want to feel lethargic. I wanted to have good energy. So I was adding in the new supplementation as I was weaning myself off these things. And then I got the blood work tested after I was completely off. I think it was about 2-3 weeks after I was off of it. And sure enough, I was hyperthyroid. After all these years of having been hypothyroid, I was now hyperthyroid. I was overactive. So my intuition was correct. Your intuition is correct. When you learn, it's part of what I teach people again in my group programs and my one-on-one of getting into the space where you are completely intuitive with your own body, with your own healing. I had a knowing. It's time for me to stop this thyroid medicine. And sure enough, I commanded it and my body followed. And so I didn't need the medication. I actually had to wait a bit. I backed off of the supplementation and I waited for my thyroid to even out a little bit and to see where it was going to land because it was still getting the medication out of me. So I wanted to share this because I see so many women in a few of the groups that I'm in socially, and they all mention that they've got thyroid, Hashimoto's, some type of thyroid disorder. And I really believe 100% that we can reverse it and that we don't have to be on the medications. I did not want to be on any medications, and I'm not. And so I think it's important that you understand the mechanism of how we actually do go about healing. If you are a person who does not want to address their food choices, if you're someone who self-medicates with alcohol, you need to stop. I don't know any other way to put that. You need to stop. I know many, many women in their 40s and beyond who, that's their thing. That's their drug of choice. Alcohol is a toxin and it's going to disrupt your hormones. It's going to disrupt your insulin sensitivity and your insulin resistance. It's going to affect your liver. And you just cannot heal if you're ingesting alcohol. You just can't. Your body, the frequency of alcohol in the body is a toxin. Bottom line. And even if it's like, oh, just once in a while I do this or I do that, I'm going to encourage you to stop and see what's possible for yourself. And you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to make a decision. Do you want to actually truly heal your body, heal the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical, heal the thyroid, get off the medications? If you do, then you're going to have to give up something of a lower nature, the alcohol, the sugar, being addicted to carbs and sugar, self-medicating with food and alcohol is not going to allow you to support your thyroid gland and heal your body. So if you are a person that does not want to give up those things, I'm going to tell you that, no, don't come to me. Don't come to me for help, because here's what will happen. I'll do the work. I'll help with the healing, and I'll teach you how to heal, and I'll teach you the energetic and the reprogramming. But you do have to support your physical body. You do have to address, why am I medicating with alcohol when it's a toxin? Why am I medicating with sugar and junk food that is filled, processed food with toxins? That is part of the attacking. That is part of you attacking yourself and not supporting your body, your mind, your emotions, your spirit, and your physical 3D body. So I would not tell you, yes, absolutely, 100%. I'm gonna work on you and I'm gonna fix your thyroid. Nope, that's not how it works. That's not how it works, folks. You have to be an active participant. You have to, as I said, want to let go of something that is a lower nature for something that is a higher nature, and that is your divinity, your divine life and light and body. Your body is here for more life, for the expansion, for the expansion. So I hope this was helpful. If you're somebody who needs help and wants help with reversing other autoimmune and or thyroid disease, please reach out to me. You can reach out at martha@marthablessing.com. And I look forward to seeing you and talking with you. Take care. See you in the next episode. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Place to Be Free podcast. If you found inspiration in our discussions on empowered living, mindset, and spiritual laws and healing, don't forget to subscribe and share the wisdom with your community. Connect with me on social media, and for exclusive content, free resources, and to stay updated on upcoming episodes, visit the website at marthablessing.com/free stuff. Until next time, remember, you're the author of your story. Keep breaking through barriers, defy old worn-out beliefs and patterns, and create a life without limitation. I'll see you in the next episode.